The world seemed to hold its breath as Ezra's heart thundered, his sneakers sinking into the damp earth of the Oregon cliffside. He wasn't supposed to be here, not with Caleb, not with the weight of a secret that could unravel everything. But when Caleb's hand brushed his, electric and warm, Ezra knew there was no turning back. Ezra Martinez, 24, stood at the edge of the cliff, the Pacific Ocean roaring below like it was daring him to leap. His brown hair whipped in the wind, and his hazel eyes flickered with a mix of fear and longing. He'd grown up in Portland's gritty outskirts, where dreams were as scarce as sunlight in winter. His life had been a series of calculated moves: work at the docks, keep his head down, hide who he was. But Caleb Ellison, 25, with his unruly black curls and a laugh that could melt ice, had stormed into Ezra's world like a summer squall. Caleb was everything Ezra wasn't: bold, unapologetic, a painter whose canvases burst with color and defiance. Born in Atlanta but chasing art across the country, Caleb had landed in Portland 6 months ago, renting a cramped studio above a coffee shop where Ezra worked weekends. Their first meeting was a collision. Ezra spilling coffee, Caleb catching the cup with a grin that said, "I see you." Now, standing on this cliff, that grin was gone, replaced by something deeper, something that made Ezra's chest ache. "I don't know how to do this," Ezra whispered, his voice nearly lost to the wind. "What if they find out? My family, my job?" Caleb stepped closer, his hand finding Ezra's. "Then we face it together. You're not alone anymore." The words hit like a wave. Ezra had spent years building walls, each brick carved from shame and silence. His father's voice still echoed, "Be a man, Ezra. Don't disgrace us." But Caleb's touch was a chisel, cracking those walls with every glance, every shared laugh. Tonight, they'd driven 2 hours from Portland to this secluded cliff, a place Caleb called his thinking spot. It was their first time truly alone, away from prying eyes, and the air between them hummed with possibility. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, Caleb pulled Ezra closer. "You ever think about what it'd be like to just be?" he asked, his voice soft but piercing. "No hiding, no pretending?" Ezra's throat tightened. "Every day. But it's not that simple." "It could be," Caleb said, his eyes searching Ezra's. "With you, it feels like it could be." The moment stretched, fragile and perfect. Ezra's heart screamed to lean in, to close the distance, but fear clawed at him. What if this was a mistake? What if Caleb's courage was a flame that would burn them both? Yet, as the waves crashed below, Ezra felt something shift, a spark of defiance, a refusal to let fear win. He leaned in. Their lips met, tentative at first, then fierce, like a promise sealed against the world. The kiss tasted of salt and freedom, and for those fleeting seconds, Ezra wasn't the dockworker's son or the man who hid in shadows. He was just Ezra, alive and whole. But the world doesn't pause for love. A rustle in the bushes snapped them apart, hearts pounding. What was that? Ezra hissed, scanning the darkening cliffside. Caleb squinted into the twilight. Probably just a deer, or the wind. But Ezra's pulse didn't slow. He'd grown up dodging whispers and glares. He knew the sound of danger. "We should go," he said, tugging Caleb's hand. Caleb hesitated, his jaw tight. "Ezra, we can't keep running from shadows." "I'm not running," Ezra snapped, sharper than he meant. "I'm surviving." The drive back to Portland was quiet, the hum of Caleb's old pickup truck filling the space where words failed. Ezra stared out the window, the memory of the kiss warring with the knot in his stomach. He wanted to believe in Caleb's world, where love didn't need to hide, but his own was built on caution. His father's church, his mother's expectations, his co-workers' casual slurs. They were a minefield he navigated daily. Back in the city, Caleb parked outside Ezra's apartment, a rundown building in St. John's. "You okay?" Caleb asked, his voice gentle but probing. Ezra nodded, but his hands shook as he unbuckled his seatbelt. "I just need time." Caleb's smile was small, understanding. "I'm not going anywhere." Inside, Ezra leaned against his door, heart still racing. His tiny apartment smelled of coffee grounds and old paint, a stark contrast to the wild freedom of the cliff. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages from his sister. "Lena, Dad's asking where you were tonight. Be careful." The warning sank like a stone. Lena knew about Ezra's feelings, had seen the way he looked at Caleb, but even she urged silence. "For your own good," she'd said. Sleep didn't come easy. Ezra lay awake, replaying the kiss, the rustle in the bushes, Caleb's unwavering gaze. He wanted to be brave, to be the man Caleb saw in him, but bravery came at a cost. By morning, he'd made a decision. He'd see Caleb again, but he'd set rules. No more cliffs, no more risks. Love could wait, survival couldn't. The next week was a blur of work and avoidance. Ezra took extra shifts at the docks, hauling crates until his muscles screamed, hoping exhaustion would drown his thoughts. But Caleb was relentless, texting sketches of sunsets, leaving voicemails that were half jokes, half pleas. "Ezra, you can't hide from me forever. I'm too charming." On Friday, Caleb cornered him outside the coffee shop. "You're avoiding me," he said, arms crossed, his green jacket streaked with paint. "I'm not," Ezra lied, wiping sweat from his brow. "I've just been busy." Caleb's eyes narrowed. "Bullshit. You're scared." Ezra flinched. "You don't get it, Caleb. You're out, you're proud, you've got nothing to lose. I've got everything. You think I don't know fear?" Caleb's voice dropped, raw. "I lost my family when I came out. My dad hasn't spoken to me in 3 years. But I'm still here, Ezra, because hiding hurts worse." The words cut deep. Ezra wanted to argue, to say Caleb didn't understand, but the pain in Caleb's eyes was undeniable. "I don't know how to do this," Ezra admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Caleb stepped closer, his hand brushing Ezra's arm. "Let me show you." That night, they went to a small gallery in southeast Portland, where Caleb's paintings were on display. The space was crowded, alive with chatter and wine glasses clinking. Ezra felt out of place in his worn jacket, surrounded by artists and hipsters, but Caleb's hand on his back grounded him. The paintings were bold, swirls of color depicting lovers, dreamscapes, and quiet moments of defiance. One canvas, tucked in a corner, stopped Ezra cold. 2 figures on a cliff, hands clasped, the ocean stretching behind them. "Is that us?" Ezra asked, his voice catching. Caleb grinned. "Maybe." The gallery owner, a woman named Marissa, approached, her eyes sharp. "Caleb, this one's getting attention. You've got a buyer already." Ezra's stomach twisted. The painting felt too personal, too exposed. "You're selling it?" he asked, louder than he meant. Caleb frowned. "It's art, Ezra. It's meant to be shared." "But it's us," Ezra said, his voice low, urgent. "What if someone recognizes me?" Caleb's face softened. "No one will know. It's just a moment, not a map to your life." Ezra wanted to believe him, but the fear was a living thing, coiling tighter. He excused himself, stepping outside into the cool night air. The city pulsed around him, cars honking, neon signs flickering. But all he could see was that painting, a piece of his heart on display for strangers. Caleb followed, his footsteps soft. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't think it'd hit you like this." Ezra turned, his eyes burning. "You don't get it. You put us out there, and I'm still trying to figure out how to exist." Caleb's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Okay, I'll pull the painting. But Ezra, you can't keep splitting yourself in two. You're either in this with me or you're not." The ultimatum hung heavy. Ezra wanted to say he was in, that he'd fight for this, for them, but the words stuck. Instead, he nodded, a weak compromise. Caleb sighed, pulling him into a hug that felt like both a lifeline and a warning. The next morning, Ezra woke to a text from Lena. "Dad's suspicious. He saw you leave with that guy. Be careful, easy." Panic clawed at him. His father, a pastor at a small evangelical church, had always been a looming presence, his love conditional on Ezra's obedience. If he found out about Caleb, Ezra's world would implode. He met Caleb at a diner, the kind with sticky tables and burnt coffee. "We need to slow down," Ezra said, his voice flat. "My family, they're watching." Caleb's face fell, but he nodded. "Okay, we'll go at your pace. But I'm not giving up on you." The words were a bomb, but they didn't erase the fear. Ezra spent the next few days dodging his father's questions, lying about late shifts, avoiding Caleb's texts. But every night, he dreamed of the cliff, of Caleb's kiss, of a life where he didn't have to choose between love and safety. On Sunday, Ezra's father confronted him after church. "Who's the man you've been with?" he demanded, his voice low, dangerous. Ezra's heart stopped. "Just a friend," he lied, but his father's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, Ezra. I raised you better." The words echoed in Ezra's mind as he fled to Caleb's studio. He found Caleb painting, his hands smeared with blue. "My dad knows," Ezra blurted. "He knows something's up." Caleb set down his brush, his face calm but resolute. "Then let's face it. Together." Ezra shook his head. "You don't know what he's like. He'll destroy me." Caleb took his hands, his grip firm. "He can't destroy you, Ezra. You're stronger than you think." The words sparked something in Ezra, a flicker of hope, a refusal to break. But as he looked into Caleb's eyes, he knew the road ahead would test them both. Love was a battlefield, and they were just beginning to fight.